I want you to just for a second think about your digital life. I mean, the pure friction of trying to get anything done. You're planning a trip or trying to finalize a project for work.
Right.
How many tabs do you have open right now? 5, 10. Are you copying a date from your calendar and pasting it into an email?
And then moving a file from, your cloud storage into a chat app, and then you have to go manually set a reminder somewhere else.
Exactly. It's constant.
It's the age of the, I guess, fragmented app universe. We have all these incredible tools, but they live in their own little worlds.
And we're the glue.
We are the human duct tape holding the entire system together. That's a perfect way to put it.
Well, the huge shift we're about to unpack today is really based on one massive premise.
Okay.
That whole era of digital fragmentation, of you being the manual coordinator.
Yeah.
It's over.
It is. And it's happening faster than people realize. While most of the public is, still learning how to write a good prompt for a chatbot.
Yeah, prompt engineering is the big thing.
Right. But the big players, Google, OpenAI, Meta, they've already moved on. They're quietly launching something totally different. AI agents.
And if you don't get the difference, the practical difference between a passive chatbot and an active agent, you are going to be completely misaligned with what the sources are all saying is the biggest tech change of the decade.
This isn't just another update. It's a whole new paradigm.
It really is.
So our mission today in this deep dive is to really nail down that crucial difference. We have to understand this idea of autonomy. Why an AI that just waits for you is passive, and why an AI that acts for you is the future.
If you can internalize that one concept, you'll know exactly where to focus your attention.
And where to delegate your time.
So let's start by defining the problem that these agents are even here to solve. We've all heard this term, digital fatigue. Let's get specific.
It's not just being tired. It's often called work about work.
Work about work.
Yeah, it's the inefficiency that's just baked into how we do things now because none of our tools really talk to each other, not seamlessly.
That coordination, that's where the real cost is, isn't it? The friction. I know I spend, frankly, embarrassing amount of time just looking for one specific document.
Yes. It's in a shared folder somewhere.
Right. Or I'm trying to figure out if my colleague has the latest version of a spreadsheet. It's madness.
And that feeling, that administrative overload, we can actually quantify it. The sources have a really, really striking data point here.
What is it?
Across a lot of professional jobs, people are spending an average of 30% of their entire workday just jumping between tabs.
30%.
30%. Just navigating different apps, copying data from one system like a CRM and pasting it into another like an email.
A third of your day. A third of your day is spent being a human courier for digital information.
That's not high-value work. That is pure mechanical upkeep.
It's stunning.
And that's why it's this economic black hole. You scale that 30% inefficiency across a big company or the whole economy.
I talk in billions.
Billions of dollars in lost productivity annually. And the core issue isn't even bad technology, it's passive technology.
Passive technology. Okay, break that down. Our tools are powerful, sure, but they're inert.
Exactly. Inert is the word. Your spreadsheet just sits there until you hit save. Your email client waits for you to click send.
Your project board doesn't move a task until you manually drag it from in progress to done.
They're all waiting for us to bridge the gaps between them. They're like, highly optimized servants, but they're not thinking partners.
And that's why we're doing this deep dive on agents.
Because they break that model. They break passivity. They are active. They're proactive.
Which brings us right to the core of it, the big distinction. If a chatbot is a passive tool waiting for a prompt, what is the single biggest thing that makes an AI agent so different, so world-changing?
It's one word, autonomy. And that autonomy is really underpinned by planning.
Okay.
Autonomy doesn't just mean it can answer a question. It means the system can see a high-level goal, break that goal down into smaller, logical steps.
And then do them.
And then execute those steps sequentially across multiple platforms that used to be siloed, all without you having to intervene after you set the initial goal.
So we are literally moving from AI that speaks, which, summarizes and writes things,
to AI that does.
AI that does, and executing AI. But let's get a bit deeper. How is that mechanically different from, say, a really complex macro or one of those IFTTT rules?
That is a great question, and it's where the nuance really matters. It's what makes it a true agent. It has two critical pieces that simple automation just doesn't have.
And those are?
Reflection loops and long-term memory.
Okay, walk us through that. Reflection loops.
A simple macro is brittle. If step 3 fails for some reason, the whole thing just breaks. It stops and waits for a human to come fix it.
Right.
An agent, using a reflection loop, tries the step, it monitors the outcome, and if it fails, say an email address was wrong, it self-corrects.
It fixes its own plan.
It tries to. It might reformat the data or search for the correct address, or maybe it asks you a quick clarifying question before it continues. The point is, it doesn't just give up.
So the machine can actually troubleshoot its own task list.
Yeah.
That feels like the real step forward. It can handle the messiness of the real world.
Exactly. And then the long-term memory means it builds a model of you. It learns your preferences, your typical workflow, your relationships. So it's not just executing a task, it's executing your task according to your goals.
It moves from being just a tool to being a partner.
A thinking partner.
Let's make it really tangible. Let's use that Q3 meeting example from the sources. Maybe using a tool like Notebook LM with an agent built in.
Perfect example. So traditionally, you have a meeting tomorrow, you might go to a regular chatbot and say, summarize the Q3 sales documents.
And gives you a summary. Job done. It was reactive.
Totally reactive. But the agent model is active. It is constantly monitoring your digital world.
So it sees the meeting on my calendar.
It sees the meeting on your calendar for tomorrow afternoon. It sees the folders with the Q3 sales data, and it sees who the key stakeholders are in the meeting invite. It understands the whole context.
And understands the goal is not just give me a summary, but I need to be prepared for this meeting.
Yes. So, autonomously, it builds a plan. Step 1, synthesize a summary from all those documents. Step 2, cross-reference that with your calendar to see who's coming.
Okay.
Step 3, it drafts an email with the summary and maybe a few key takeaway bullet points. And then step 4, and this is the key, it actively sends that email to everyone as a pre-read, maybe 30 minutes before the meeting starts.
And it did all of that without me even asking. It saw the pattern, it anticipated my need, built the plan, and then executed it across my documents, my calendar, and my email.
Which were all previously separate systems, and that's the aha moment. The revolution isn't just that it can summarize, it's the seamless ability to bridge those platforms. You, the human, are shifted from being the task manager
to just being the goal setter. I just have to say, I want this meeting to be productive.
And the agent handles that 30% of friction that used to kill your day. It's a massive shift in who does what.
And you're saying this isn't years away? This is happening now.
It is, especially in places like Google Workspace or with what OpenAI is offering to businesses.
Which brings us right to the near-term impact. If they're already here, what's the actual timeline?
Yeah.
What can you expect to see on your phone or your laptop in, say, the next 6 months?
We're going to see a really rapid and probably a bit confusing rollout of what the sources are calling a personal AI operating system, an AI OS.
Which sounds different than just installing a new app.
It's fundamentally different. Your phone has always just been a grid of passive icons, right? You tap mail, it opens mail.
Yep.
You tap calendar, it opens calendar.
Yeah.
An AI OS changes that whole experience. Your phone is no longer a box of separate tools. It becomes a single unified interface for getting things done.
So that grid of icons starts to, fade away?
It becomes less important because the agent is the one interacting with the tools for you. It basically turns your phone into an executive assistant that's monitoring your life and proactively helping you manage your goals.
So instead of me opening the Maps app, then my calendar, then my airline app.
The agent just knows. It knows you're flying out tomorrow morning, it checks the traffic for you, it sees the gate changed, and it proactively sends you a notification telling you to leave 30 minutes earlier.
And maybe it's already requested the Uber based on the fastest route.
Exactly. It's using its long-term memory of your habits and its perception of the real-world traffic, whether to act autonomously toward the goal of get me to the airport on time. It manages the complexity. You just approve the result.
This seems like an insane productivity leap. Especially for, like, solo creators or small business owners.
Oh, for them, the administrative load is just crushing.
Totally.
And the predictions here, they're pretty staggering. For individuals or small teams that are heavy on admin, coordination, content drafting, all that 30% friction, the sources are predicting that one person using these integrated agents will be able to do the work of a traditional team of 10.
A team of 10.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a bold claim. We have to unpack that. What kind of tasks are we talking about here? It's not replacing high-level strategy, right?
No, absolutely not. That's a critical point. It's replacing the administrative team of 10. The person who schedules social media, the person who does basic customer service follow-ups, the person who does expense reports, the data entry specialist.
All the roles that are defined by that repetitive, multi-step coordination. The data shunting.
Exactly. The human strategist's role, your role, actually becomes more valuable, not less.
That makes sense. The agent handles the logistical how, and the human is freed up to focus on the strategic what and why.
Right.
But, okay, if the agent is watching my calendar, reading my emails, looking at my private documents, this immediately raises a huge question of trust and control.
It does, and that's the central challenge to adoption. For these things to work, they need deep access. They have to be inside the silos.
So where do they start?
The first wins will probably be in existing secure environments, like a corporate Google workspace, where a level of trust is already established.
But what happens when the agent messes up? If I delegate booking a complex trip to an agent, and it books a flight for the wrong day, that's a real cost.
And that's why that reflection loop we talked about is so important. The best agents are being built with really clear rollback and reporting functions.
So you don't just delegate and forget.
No, you delegate a goal, and the agent reports back with the proposed plan, and then it reports the executed steps. The key is transparency. You are still the final boss, but you're reviewing a complete plan instead of building it piece by piece.
So you shift from doing the work to auditing the work.
That's a perfect way to frame it. You're shifting from execution to auditing.
This is a good moment for a relevance check for you, our listener. Think about your own day. Where are you spending 30% of your time just shuffling information? Is it coordinating travel?
Yeah.
Generating reports?
Is it sending follow-up invoices and then tracking the payments?
Now ask yourself, could that whole frustrating block of time be delegated to an agent that understands the final goal, not just a single command?
Because that process, just identifying those repeatable multi-step actions, that's the first step to really thriving in this new world.
This has been a really deep dive into a huge change, and the core lesson from the sources seems to be ringing so clearly. It's the shift from passive to active.
Reactive to proactive. The tech revolution isn't on its way, it's already here. It's changing the very basics of how we interact with our devices. We're going from a world where we had to go 10 different apps to get one thing done.
To a world where a single agent manages those 10 apps for us.
On our behalf.
So,
Yeah.
what does this mean for us? For the person on the other side of the screen, if the agent is handling the execution of the logistics, the required human skill set has to change dramatically.
Oh, absolutely. Survival and definitely prosperity in this new era.
Yeah.
It belongs to people who master the art of delegation.
It's not about how fast you can type anymore.
Or how well you know a spreadsheet macro. It's about becoming a better strategist and a better communicator of your intent.
Can you give us an example? Bad delegation versus good delegation in the age of agents.
Sure, a bad prompt is asking a chatbot, draft me a marketing email. That's passive. A powerful delegation to an agent is saying, our goal is to increase product signups by 15% this quarter.
So you give it the high-level goal.
You give it the goal and the context. You have access to our past performance data and our content calendar. Develop a 3-step campaign using social media, email follow-ups, and A/B tested landing pages, and report the results to me daily.
And the agent takes that goal and breaks it down into hundreds of little steps: writing, scheduling, testing, monitoring.
And it reports back to you, the strategist, on the outcome. You have to be able to clearly communicate the desired outcome and the why, and then trust the agent to handle the how.
That skill, framing a complex, multi-stage goal, that's the new currency.
It is. It's the most valuable currency in the age of autonomy.
That's the real elevation of the modern worker, then.
Yeah.
We move up the value chain from all this tedious mechanical work we've been stuck with.
Which brings up a final important question that kind of builds on everything we've talked about.
Okay.
If we really do eliminate the need for jumping between tabs or copying data, if that 30% of our day, that human digital maintenance, is completely recovered by these agents, what new higher-level human tasks are going to fill that enormous void in our workday?
That is something to think about. As you look at your own workflow this week, what strategic, creative, or deeply human tasks have you been putting off because you were just too busy being a digital middleman? What will you do with that recovered third of your day? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.